Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, another episode of Cork in the North podcast. Thanks to everybody who's been liking, sharing and subscribing to us here at Cork in the North House. Hope you like the new sign. Julie did that. £16. So we've got loads of new stuff in the studio as well as we've moved to our new premises as well. Exciting times, ladies and gentlemen. Please sign up to the Patreon. It's £3 a month. Helps me feed the kids I don't have. It's very important that you do support the podcast as we've got some amazing guests coming on over the next couple of weeks, and we can only do this if people keep listening, people keep downloading, people keep following, subscribing to the YouTube. That's what we're trying to do here at Cork in the North. Now, joining us this week, we have a first-time guest. We reach out to lots of people, and lots of people say no. But this person, this lady, has said yes. Her name is Áine Groogan. She's a Deputy Lord Mayor of Belfast. Thank you so much for coming on Cork in the North.
Thank you for having me.
Very good.
Here?
Have you ever heard of Cork in the North? Before you got the email, did you ever hear of us?
Before I got the email, no, I'll have to admit.
There you go. Thanks for coming on Cork in the North, Áine. We really do appreciate it.
I mentioned to a lot of people and they knew immediately.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, they were like, those guys are absolute lunatics.
No, they're like, they're really good. They're really popular. Go on that.
Oh, that's very good. Are you serious?
No, seriously.
It's great to know that we're infiltrating the political world as well, isn't it? So, Áine, you're, first of all, you've many different roles, right? First one is you are a councillor for the Green Party in Northern Ireland, in the North. I mean, whatever I say, it's wrong, isn't it? And also as well, you're Deputy Lord Mayor. Mm-hmm. Deputy Lord Mayor of Belfast.
Yeah.
And you're from Derry.
From South Derry.
South Derry, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a transfer, like. That's a transfer. That's like Roy Keane signing for Man United, for Liverpool, isn't it? So, first of all, I want to talk to you about the Deputy Lord Mayor role, right? You took that job in June. Mm-hmm. At, 3 hours notice? Yeah. How did this come about?
Everybody asked me this, how'd you get the role? And I think I confuse them more when I tell them. So, if you've ever heard of doesnt, it's a nice, complicated political instrument that we use in Northern Ireland to divvy up kind of roles. So
right.
Stormont would use it for the executive positions and the council uses it for their positions of responsibility. So all the Lord Mayor over the 4 years, Deputy Lord Mayor and committee chairs. So I suppose someone, Brian Smith, my party colleague, described it like the draft in American football.
Oh, so you get your picks.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So it's basically... It works out what way parties get to pick their positions of responsibility. So it comes down to party strength. Basically what happened was we were meant to have a meeting to decide the positions of responsibility for the 4 years. Each one is for like a year term. But it got postponed just after the election, a bit of kind of chaos and things settled down. So it was postponed until the day of the annual meeting itself, where everybody's meant to be installed. Now it was fine for the Lord Mayor. We knew Sinn Féin was the largest party. They'd get first pick. They'd pick first year Lord Mayor, so they knew who they were installing. Deputy was a little bit more uncertain, so I went into the meeting at 1 p.m. The meeting was at 6. I got out of the meeting at 2:30, but halfway through that meeting it came to my first pick and Deputy Lord Mayor was still there, and I jumped at it. I think for some of the bigger parties, when they have a Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor doesn't mean as much, but for us it's a huge thing. We're a small party, we don't really get those opportunities. I'm the first Green Party person in anywhere in Northern Ireland to hold any of that sort of any position like it, so we jumped at it. So everybody was wondering why I was sitting dancing, trying to get out of the meeting as quickly as possible. I was, can I go yet? And they were like, I was like, we had to make a rather large decision between three of us who was going to be the Deputy Lord Mayor in about 3 hours time. So by the time I went round to committee meeting, the press were already calling my party colleagues asking who it was going to be, and we hadn't even decided yet. So in good green fashion, we put names in a reusable coffee cup.
Are you serious?
And picked out names.
So the Deputy Lord Mayor is literally like a toss of a coin kind of thing.
Yeah, we knew it was down. The party gets the pick, and then it's up to the party. There was only 3 of us, so it was going to come down to one person having to pick. It's like picking between the 2 children. Were you all
up for it? All 3 of you? Were you all up for the job?
2 of us were up for it, so it would have made one person having to pick between the 2 of us. We thought that was a bit cruel. So we put names out of a hat. So I had to phone my mum in a panic, and then my boss before she read it on BBC News
wow.
to tell her that I was going to be Deputy Lord Mayor.
And you're installed at what, 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock. So I had a mad dash out of City Hall trying to find a hairdresser open on a Monday.
Because obviously
glamour.
It's going to go all over the press, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're going to be interviewed and all this kind of stuff. And 4 hours previously, you're probably thinking to yourself, I'm having Netflix and takeaway tonight, that kind of thing after a busy day of work.
Yep. So and I was just after a 6-week election campaign. I was not in my best form. I barely had clean clothes at that stage.
That thing actually shows to me that Northern Ireland can get things done when they work fast.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
I got the hair done. I got a speech written. was
You
all
became
good.
Deputy Lord Mayor within hours' notice. Can you imagine what would happen if Stormont went back?
I know.
The stuff that they would get done so fast.
My family jumped on a bus from South Derry and came down.
What do you do as Deputy Lord Mayor? Is it ceremonial?
It's a bit ceremonial, yeah.
Right. So, can I ask you a question? Are you cutting ribbons, opening donkey sanctuaries? What are you doing? You go around talking to business owners? Are you working with...
I cut my first ribbon on Friday night, actually, over the Portview pop-up. It's really varied. It's like my first week, I think I welcomed the cycle. I was at a school fun day. I welcomed the US Special Envoy.
Wow.
It just was completely varied. I've done a royal visit, Princess Anne. I've greeted her coming to Belfast.
What's she like?
She was lovely. She was
all right,
very polite. It was grand.
What'd she say to you?
She was just like, "Oh, they're keeping you busy." I was like, yeah, they are." And asked of any particular interests. So she was like, "Oh, very good," and moved on to the next person. So there's a bit of that in terms of people coming to Belfast, delegations, things like that.
Yeah.
You meet and you greet them. You're going out to community groups. You're doing that sort of thing as well. But there was also kind of what you make of it. You get to pick 4 charities as well to kind of support through the years.
Yeah.
So I've been able to have a bit of fun with that as well in terms of, getting kind of interests that are close to my heart and supporting them as well. So,
did you meet?
good.
Is it John Kennedy Jr. or is it Jeff?
Joe Kennedy. Yeah, I met him.
He's the American. Is it
He's
like the business ambassador or
US
something?
Special Envoy to Northern Ireland.
Right.
Yeah,
What's he like? Is he a bit of crack?
It's lovely. He's a Kennedy. Like I was kind of.
He's Kennedy. He's probably dead soon. They all die,
I
don't
didn't
they?
say that.
They all die in like a tragic accident.
Oh no, they don't. Yeah, the Kennedy curse. But anybody involved in politics, they're obsessed with the Kennedys. You like them or you loathe them. You still are fascinated by them. So I was very excited to do that. To be honest, I don't know. People have their issues in terms of obviously what's going on at the minute in the Middle East and the American politicians' position on that. But that aside, there's still a fascination there with it. Yeah. And he just the charm. Like I wish I was that good at politics.
Really?
Like he just stepped out of the car and his little what do you call the special services around him, and just the charm goes on, and he's down playing with the kids and talking to everybody and getting the photos taken and waving and smiling. Like he just has a real charisma.
Wow.
Just it oozes out of them. Like
Kennedys, like they seem to like born with it or something, aren't they?
Really are. Like I wish I was that.
But it is like the most unluckiest family in politics, I'd say. Isn't it?
Kennedy.
Do you ever think to yourself that like one Kennedy goes, "I want to get into politics," and everyone's like, "No," but they have it in their gene, don't they?
Definitely are.
Where did it come from for you in terms of getting involved? Because obviously you're in the Green Party, you're a councillor for the Greens. Where did all that come for you to want to get involved in sort of public service and run, try and make change in community and stuff?
Yeah, like I think I was always interested in politics. I was a bit of a weird child. Most people argued with the parents to get out for the night. I was arguing with them about politics. I was just, I don't know, I suppose the time I grew up, like some of my earliest memories are around, the ceasefires and Good Friday Agreement. Like that's kind of the really formative, I suppose, memories for me. So I was always interested, involved. I was always probably a bit argumentative. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm from South Derry. I'm from quite a Republican family, but it never really spoke to me. Like I wasn't comfortable with that really.
Yeah.
It didn't speak to me at all. And then I went off. I just didn't really feel. I always thought, right, I might go into politics someday, but I always joked I'd have to set up my own party because none of the ones that were in existence really spoke to me and what I was interested in. And then I headed off to university in Dublin. I went to study law and political science down in Trinity. And I suppose down there I probably cut my teeth in, I suppose, small p politics in terms of political activism. So I got involved particularly around repeal and kind of abortion reform. That's probably really where I started to get active and get kind of mobilised, I guess. And I suppose through that kind of activism, starting kind of moving back up north after that, getting involved, I suppose, a bit with the Alliance for Choice up here. I became aware of Claire Bailey, our previous leader.
Yeah.
It was like a student conference, and all of a sudden there was someone actually talking about actual issues in Northern Ireland that weren't the green and the orange. They were talking about, marriage equality, abortion rights, social justice, all those things. So I don't think I ended up in the Green Party because of environmentalism, to be honest with you. It was definitely from a social justice perspective. I think I was just right, I'm really interested. So I kind of followed the Green Party from that point.
Yeah.
I still didn't kind of throw my hat in. I was just kind of, okay, well maybe there is another voice in Northern Irish politics here. So I finished my studies, I worked away for a bit, and I came back, and Claire managed to get elected. We had our second MLA elected in in 2016, I think it was, and I ended up applying for a job with her, and I got a job working on her private members bill, which is now law, which I'm probably one of my proudest ever achievements. The safe access zones bill, the buffer zone bill.
Oh, is this for women who want to go into?
Yeah, basically around abortion providers and information places.
So can I just stop you? So where I work at Q Radio in the morning, outside on Fountain Street, there's a clinic there, and on some particular days of the week, I would be coming down the escalator, and I will see a certain number of protesters, shall we say, who are standing there with "Jesus loves you" and all this kind of stuff. And anytime somebody goes into that building, now there's a number of offices in that building, so not everybody that's walking into that building is going in to use that service, but they're just getting pounced upon. And I've seen counter protests as well, people there with the LGBTQ plus flag and all that kind of stuff. And I saw one guy there with a sign saying, "Don't listen to these weirdos." You know what I mean? Which I thought was very funny. Yeah,
very funny, but at the same time, not particularly useful for someone trying to access healthcare in a safe and confidential manner.
So when you're saying safe access, so explain to me, now to me, that doesn't look overly safe for somebody.
Well, that should no longer be happening as of
do you know what? I haven't
September.
I actually haven't seen that for a while.
The bill came into force earlier this year. It took a little while, let's just say, to the Department of Health pulled their finger out, but it should have been operational there since September, so you should see the signs up.
Do you know what? Amy's with me from Q Radio here tonight. We see that a lot, Amy, don't we? We used to see the people outside a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, actually, come to think of it, since September, it was always certain days a week. I haven't seen them either.
So you passed that bill to get these
Claire Bailey passed the bill. I was the researcher in the background helping her with that.
Wow, that's mad, isn't it? That's brilliant.
It was the first and only bill to date that has ever been referred to the Supreme Court from Northern Ireland.
Really?
So we did the hard work, got the bill passed, and then it got referred to the Supreme Court. So we had a very nervy wait. And then it was on holidays last December, literally packing my bags, trying to head to the airport with the headphones in, listening to the Supreme Court judgment, and I immediately just burst into tears when they upheld the bill.
So this bill has implemented that when women are looking for healthcare, they are not to be harassed outside the premises and stuff like that, right? When I was growing up as a kid, when I was 19, I used to work in a maternity hospital in Cork called the Ernville Maternity Hospital, and obviously, some days of the week, Saturday and Sunday mornings, certain people would come in, females would come in looking for the morning after pill, but there would be people outside, the classic rosary beads, all this kind of stuff, crosses, putting pressure on people when they were going into the pharmacy or when they're going in to speak to a doctor. But to see how far that's come, and especially up here in Northern Ireland, where I'm not going to lie, I've been here 3 years, nothing's been done apart from this. you know what I mean? Like, I think it's fantastic. So I can't believe I saw that for 5 months, a couple of times a week, and now they're not going to be there. So can I give you an example? If I see them there tomorrow, what happens? They get reported. What happens then? The police come down.
The police can move them out of the zone, and that was the whole thing with the bill. It wasn't about criminalising people, and you'll get all the delirium about what it's going to do. It's not about criminalising people or fining them. The strength of the bill was the police being able to go, right, you move. It's about creating that safe access zone. It's not about criminalising anything. It's about making sure people can access healthcare when they need it, confidentially, safe, without that going through that gauntlet of intimidation.
Yeah. And how far do they have to move? What's the law surrounding that?
It depends on the clinic. So the bill kind of gives, I think it's like 150 metres, but it can be extended depending on, because it's different circumstances. That's the example you talk about, it's quite a short street. That would be ample. But then you have other places, like hospitals and sites and things like that, where it might need to be extended more. So the bill does give that allowance as well if it needs to be extended, depending on the site.
So they've obviously probably challenged this, haven't they?
Well, it went up to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court upheld it, which was really quite impressive. You kind of hope that was one of the, but you never know in this place, do you? Way things are going to fall. But I was delighted the Supreme Court upheld it, that it had the appropriate balance of human rights, because yes, you've got free speech, you've got the right to assemble, all of those things. Nobody's arguing with that, but people have the right to access healthcare, and they have a right to privacy and right to life and things like that as well. And it's about a balance. And the Supreme Court actually found that by not doing it, we were actually infringing women's rights, not being able to access healthcare properly. So, and that's before you even go into actual provision of abortion services here. We're still not, though we've won decriminalisation, we still haven't got full access. So we still have a way to go. The fight's never over.
But you're getting there, though. And the key thing is that there is movement. That's the most important thing.
There's movement, and that's a credit to Your Alliance Rejoice and those sort of groups that have been fighting the good fight for
yeah,
many
it's like
years.
people have been fighting for so long. Do you know what I mean? I remember cases down south when I was growing up as a kid. The X case and stuff like that. Like, you know, these were big referendums in Ireland that we've had, say, in the last 10 years. We've had marriage equality, women's rights, divorce referendum. You know, like, I must say one thing, though, we're pretty good at referendums. We're not like them across the water where we make the decision after the vote. You actually tell people what's going to happen before you make the vote. Do you know what I mean? Like, because we have the, what's it called? The Citizens' Assembly as well.
Yes,
down
the
south
Citizens' Assembly is a class model. And I think everybody's like, oh, but Northern Ireland being so socially conservative. It was like, a way on. People would have said that about Ireland as well. I think, like everything here, people are always way ahead of the politicians.
Well, I actually genuinely have said this before. Like, when actually one of the reasons why we do the podcast is because, like, I've lived here for 3 years and I couldn't believe how brilliant the people were and how progressive they were, yet the politics seemed to let them down.
100%.
And the narrative from the politics and the media from the politics. And you kind of think, like, when I was growing up as a kid, I just heard the same things like you did, you know, one side v another side. But now actually when you live here and you're actually walking around the people and you're talking to people, not one person has ever brought where I'm from up as an issue. No one actually cares. What they want is housing, healthcare, education.
It's the day-to-day.
You know what I mean? It's the day-to-day stuff. So you're like this new sort of voice coming, you know, a child of like the Good Friday Agreement. You found your way into the Greens and stuff. Talk to me about running for a councillor. How did this come about? Is it something that you were convinced you wanted to do? Did someone convince you to do it? How do you actually put that name on the sheet? Like, how did it come about?
I was convinced to run. Like I said, I probably didn't. Like I said, I was always interested in politics. I always thought one day I was working for the Greens at the time, and I was approached and asked if I'd consider it, and I was like, I'll consider it, think about it. Didn't think I anticipated going into it maybe quite so young, but the opportunity was there. I put my name forward, got selected, and somehow managed to get elected back in 2019.
So many votes did you get?
I actually, and it's a bit embarrassing now after the last election, but I actually topped the poll back then in
Smashed
2019.
Smashed it, mate. See the poll? Smashed it.
So
What's that? Is that a poll? Smashed it, mate.
Did quite well, and it was the first time winning the seat in Botanic Ward. Now I fell a wee bit this time around, but I always said there's only one way down from there.
yeah. So did you go and do a lot of knocking on doors?
Lots of door
What's
knocking.
that like? Because look, like we sometimes when as a normal Joe up in the street and you kind of hear people go knocking on doors, you kind of say, you're opening yourself there to like some abuse. Like, what's the crack with that?
I actually love it. Maybe I'm just a bit of a weirdo.
Do people engage with you?
I love it. It's honestly the best part of it. And I have a few people and a few friends that were always like, oh, I want to support you, but terrified of it. See, when you actually drag them out, they get a bug with it. There's just something really nice about going out and talking to people. And like, yes, like everybody has the odd horror story of something has happened on the canvas, but honest to God, I've been canvassing multiple times because we have an election every other month in this place. I don't know how many election campaigns I've been involved with in the last 6 years, but I think I can count in one hand the number of negative experiences we have, and most of the time it's not because of you or anything you've done. It's maybe they've maybe mental health issues, or they're just getting their anger out at whoever's there. It's not necessarily at you. People just want to talk. Like, people actually enjoy talking, and they just want to kind of vent their issues, and they want to have a chat. And most people are really appreciative that you've taken the time and knocked their door. And yeah, I get a real buzz about it. There's there really is in certain areas as well. You've kind of got good support. You just have good crack as well.
Yeah.
You get to meet lots of cats as well on the route, and I enjoy that.
You are like
all the cats on the route. The person leading my team loses me frequently because I've got distracted by cats.
Yeah, that's brilliant. But I think, like, I have a lot of respect for people who put themselves out there into public life, because it's tough. Like, and you know, politics doesn't end well for people. You know, there's no good way to go. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone falls. You know what I mean? Like you know, we were talking there just off air. Maybe potentially Sinn Féin could, you know, be Mary Lou could be the Taoiseach down south in a couple of years, right? And like Leo Varadkar was elected on the 4th count in the last election. Like, he's going down that way. You don't leave on a high, do you? Do you know what I mean? Like,
no,
so
and it's tough. And like I said, we've learned that the hard way ourselves. You know, like I said, 2019, like I said, I topped the poll with a couple of other like incredible results across the party. We just got 2 MLAs. You know, we're riding a wave, and then 2022 happened and we got wiped out. We lost both our MLAs who did incredible work. Like, they passed 3 bills between them. Like, most MLAs and most big political parties don't have one. Who did
they lose the seats to? What parties?
Alliance.
Do you think this was do you think this was a real border C vote though, kind of thing, was it? Or
I think like our message is a wee bit nuanced. You know, people, it's the Greens. You know, we're not themins or themins, and we're not we're not here because of the conflict. We're here for an entirely different reason. We're here because, you know, we're eco-socialists, we say, and that's, you know, we're part of a global movement in terms of environmentalism, and, you know, so, we've definitely, Northern Irish Greens have definitely been at the forefront of the campaigns around, you know, equal marriage and abortion rights. And I think that election particularly went back to old tribal politics.
Yeah.
And there was a convergence around, I think, the Alliance Party as like a third way, you know, and yes, like they are the bigger other party, I guess. So, and, you know, their reason d'etre is, you know, out of the conflict. They're not either side. You know, that's their suppose their ideology, and that really, there was the whole idea that, you know, they might become the second biggest party, and I think people bought into that because they wanted to see a change. I think, unfortunately, with the complexities of our voting system, the PR system, people maybe didn't necessarily realise that the smaller parties need the higher preferences. The big parties are always going to get the votes. You know, they get the media. Like, we couldn't even get on the leaders' debates at the time. You know, we got cut out of all the BBC coverage. We had Ofcom reports coming out of our ears challenging it.
You're on Cork in the North now.
Exactly, see. Who needs BBC?
We do. We all do.
But, you know, so I think a lot of people thought they'll vote Alliance 1, 2, Greens 3, thinking that might help us, not realising the vote's never going to come to us. So the votes kind of galvanised around the louder, kind of bigger party, and then never quite trickled down.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of that, I think, around it, and yeah, like, that's politics. You know, you get good days and bad days. We just got caught up in an election that retreated to the trenches.
Can I just say I did give you my fourth preference? Okay.
Thank you. We'll maybe try and bump that up at the end of this.
After this podcast, you're now my third preference. Like, it's actually really nice to see a lot of people who are, you know, who are running in politics for completely different, not the reasons of the past, which appeals to me. Do you know what I mean? Because I think the majority of people on the street, that's what they want. But unfortunately, the system is designed in a way that it keeps getting dragged back to the past, and one party can hold everyone else to ransom, really. Do you know what I mean? The next step up from being a councillor is an MLA. Is that something, are you looking for a third term as a councillor, or are you actually going, you know what, I've been Deputy Lord Mayor, I've got a bit of experience, I've done two goes as a councillor, I'm going big time, I'm going MLA. Well, is that something you'd be interested in?
That's up to the people of South Belfast and Midtown.
Really?
If they choose to do that. Like, I'd be interested in doing it. I think, obviously we've no assembly at the moment, so we're all missing voices up there. But I think a restored assembly will be really missing green voices, because I think we showed our worth in the last term. Like I said, we had got the Safe Access Zones bill passed. We got Rachel Wood's bill on safe leave, or paid leave for victims of domestic violence. The climate bill happened because of the Greens as well, plus, you know, countless amendments. Rachel Woods in particular was forensic on the Justice Committee and got life-changing amendments to the domestic abuse legislation as well. You know, we really made our mark up there, and I think it takes sometimes a smaller party, particularly parties that aren't in the executive. You know, once you buy into that, you're in the executive, and obviously it's nature of the system. You know, all the bigger parties are locked into that. It takes different voices. It takes a multitude of voices to improve decision making. You need those voices from the side offering a different opinion and challenging and pushing. You know, you always want to kind of fend off against groupthink, and, you know, we have that play that role, and we're definitely coming from a certain perspective, kind of that left wing, kind of social justice, environmentalism at our core. So, you know, I think politics would be poorer without green voices. I think not to blow on trumpet, but I think we have kind of stood up and, you know, showed our worth. So I would like to think we can get back in the assembly someday. When
you explain some of the stuff that you've done, you know, the especially the domestic violence bill and stuff like that, when you actually list out the stuff that you've helped pass and move, you actually say to yourself, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. And it's like, you know, the normal person on the street isn't knowing about your own achievements. And do you think a lot of that is why do you think that is? Because the main parties keep getting sucked up, and you're having to push it on your own channels or whatever, and people just don't seem to want to take an interest? Because, like, when you actually explain some of the stuff you've done there, like, take for example, you know, the paid leave for the domestic violence bill, obviously that's a fantastic thing to do. And I know down south in Fine Gael, Helen McAtee, the Minister for Justice, they recently I think they nearly doubled prison sentences for people who are domestic abusers, which they've made massive strides on, and putting in higher punishment and stuff like that. And you actually say to yourself, oh, stuff is actually getting done if you actually go and look for it.
And
Go
I think that's the thing.
And find it, you know.
We can often get a bit depressed in Northern Irish politics, and I can understand why. There's days I think to myself, are you wise? Is your head cut? But we actually have come a long way. When you think back to where we've been, it has been worse. It's not great at the minute, granted, but we have made good achievements. And look, I think it's just the challenge of being a small party. Like I've said to you earlier, we don't have a press officer. We've no paid staff. It's a bunch of it's a bunch of hippies and working out of their cars and their living rooms, not getting paid.
Hey, look at us! Look at us! Hey, look at us! Look at us! Well, literally, we are
exactly.
I actually think we're bigger than the Green Party.
Well, you've got premises is more that we have.
You know,
I know we always say we have an ethical donation policy. We don't take the same big kind of. We're not influenced by big corporate donations.
Well,
the same way.
That's me not able to donate now.
But I'm also like, chance would be a fine thing.
You know.
No, we do take corporate donations, but they have to be ethical. But yes, like I said, chance would be a fine thing. We're running things on a shoestring, but when you take that into account as well, we actually have done quite well at the same time.
The environment is such a big thing now at the moment. Obviously, over the last sort of few years, with everything that's been on the news and the weather and all this kind of thing. Where do you stand on Just Stop Oil?
Look, they play a very important role in terms of bringing attention to things. Absolutely. I think you definitely need that direct action and getting people just to stand up and pay attention. I think particularly you look at a Tory government, they don't listen to reason or rationale. So look, direct action has a place and I'm supportive of it.
Yeah. Even everything that they do, like the roads and the disruption on the streets and people getting from A to B and trying to get to hospitals and stuff.
Don't bring the hospitals into it. Come on.
No, but there's actually part of Just Stop Oil that I actually really like.
Yeah.
I actually do. I would have voted I would be quite left wing and voting, but I also think like I'll give you an example. Like when Greta Thunberg came on the scene, right? I got a phone call to go onto a radio station in England. It's actually still online, and they were like, "Oh, we want somebody that's doesn't like Greta Thunberg," and I went, "I actually quite like her." And then so the presenter wanted to have a fight with me, and he was like, "Oh, Greta Thunberg, there she is turning up in New York on this sailing boat that she's probably got from a millionaire donor." I said, "Yeah, but do you not realise it creates PR for the environment?" So the fact that all the world's media is covering this girl talking about the climate crisis,
puts it on the agenda.
It's actually puts it on the agenda. So, but the fact that you're talking to me about it shows you the impact that she's had. And if a lot of people from the age of 13 on TikTok up to 30 are seeing this on their phone, the environment starts going around their head all and actually becomes a topic of debate. With the Just Stop Oil thing, sometimes I'd be scrolling, I'd be like, "Oh, fucking look at this! Like, look at this! Oh, geez, you might have to be hit by a car." You do all this stuff, but subconsciously, I'm doing things in my life that I know that are better for the environment without me thinking I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we have I now recycle all my food waste. I've always kind of done bits and bobs. I always make sure that my cardboards and everything are all split. Now I've always kind of done that, but now I'm actually more conscious of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like Just Stop Oil now, I see what they're doing, but sometimes I don't always agree with how they kind of like go about it. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. Do you think like that they're at the point now where like Extinction Rebellion just kind of disappeared? Didn't they? They got such a backlash they kind of went off.
Yeah, well, I think some of the movements are kind of working together, maybe under different banners. Like civil disobedience is an important part to enacting change. We're in the fight of our lives for the planet, and like I said, decision makers don't listen. If they were listening to research and evidence, we wouldn't be in this situation. They'd have acted on it 30 years ago. They need, basically, disruption makes noise. You have to kind of bring people to the table. And
but it has.
That's reality of it. Look, there's going to be disruption, and that's unfortunately inevitable part. It's like strike action.
Yeah.
Always support the strike action. Yes, things are going to be disrupted, but it's a proper tool to be used. In the right way. I
is there Just Stop Oil in Belfast? Is there Just Stop Oil in the north?
There are some campaign groups. It might not be the same groups, but there's definitely some kind of radical groups. We've had a few things recently, not quite stopping traffic and things like that, but definitely demonstrations and disrupting the Tory investment conference and things like that.
Well, I wouldn't mind that. Like,
I mean, with all the PR that Just Stop Oil get, the only counter that like the Tory government would have against that is to make them seem annoying. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like that's the more people talk about these guys are so annoying doing this. It's the only real defense
Yeah, exactly.
against it.
But
so
also, what's also annoying and what interrupts people and gets an inconvenience is climate breakdown. We've seen this week when stuff's happening in Uri and Downpatrick. Like, that's disruptive. If they listen to
That's more inconvenient than someone standing on the road, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So, climate breakdown is going to be a bigger inconvenience. So, you know.
Do you worry about, like, the next 20 years? Do you really worry about it? Like, do you think we're too far gone?
I worry about the next 2 months, never mind the next
No, but
20
like,
years.
but in terms of the environment, do you think we're too far gone? Or do you think it's rescuable, you know?
I don't think I'd still be in this if I didn't have hope. Because things are a little bit depressing right now in the world. And it's very easy to kind of just, curl up in the fetal position in your bed and not get out of it. If you kind of start thinking about the various crises that are happening, I think you have to have hope. And like I said, people are more aware. People, like we said earlier, people being ahead of politicians and things. I think people want change. I think if we've learned anything since the pandemic and, the cost of greed crisis, this isn't sustainable. We have to make a change. And I think demand is building for that, and you have to hope that I'm not going to change the world in Belfast City Council getting your bins lifted, but might be able to do a wee bit in terms of maybe pushing the conversation on. And I think as Greens in the North, that's what we definitely see our role is, because like I said, we're never going to be sitting up in the executive, well, maybe in 20 years time, but in the short to medium term, that's not going to happen. We're a small party, but what we can do is we can change the conversation. We can push others on, and we've done that. We've done it in marriage equality, we've done it in abortion rights. We're starting to change that conversation now around drug decriminalisation as well, and looking at safe injecting spaces and things like that. We have a bit of freedom being a smaller kind of radical party. We're able to kind of throw those things out there, and gradually people start, you give people the space to have the conversation, and then they kind of come along that journey with you. So I see that as our role.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's mad. When the Greens went into government down south, were you a little bit excited, or how does it work when you see the Greens down south in coalition?
Well, I think it was.
Do you think there's like, oh my God, that could be us in a few years, that kind of thing?
No, I think it was fairly well documented that Greens in the North were not entirely supportive of that decision.
Really?
Obviously not in their entirety. It was a confidential vote. You don't know, but I think largely Greens in the North were not particularly in support of that. I think just in terms of going in on that programme for government, kind of felt the Greens maybe were going to be compromised too much of their core values, going in with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and being a bit of a mudguard for them. And I think that has played out on some things, but they also have achieved some really amazing things as well. They have done some really good work, particularly around our core values and around the environment, and some of the investments in transport and waterways and things like that they've done. So they've definitely made change, and I know people will say what they want with Southern Greens. We all have our own opinions. I'll keep most of mine quiet here. But there was definitely the idea for a lot of the Greens I know that did choose to go in was from a sense that we're in a climate emergency. We have an opportunity to take power. Surely it's better us to go in there, and even if we make one change, that's better than nothing happening for another 4 years. They felt a real sense of responsibility that they had an opportunity to do something, and that kind of drove a lot of it. Like I said, the Greens in the North would be maybe a wee bit more radical and left wing than our Southern party, but like I said, we have a fairly good relationship with them. We support them, they support us, and yeah, like I said, maybe one day we'll be in a position to go into government up here, but
I think I think the Greens going in with the coalition down there kind of reminded me of Nick Clegg with the Lib Dems in 2010, I think. Yeah. And the Lib Dems ran on this thing, no university fees. And they go into coalition with David Cameron. What was it, day 2? Yeah. He stands out the back of Downing Street and goes, right, it's $9,000 a year. And then he stayed in for 4 years and they were obliterated.
Yeah, that's the fear.
Nick Clegg works for Facebook now, doesn't he?
Does he?
What a career change. Deputy Prime Minister to blocking people on Facebook.
Yeah, that's the risk. When you're the minority partner in a coalition, you're never gonna get the credit for the things that go well, and you're always gonna get the blame when things don't go well.
Is that because when you're in a coalition, say for example, let's just throw this out there, say for example you were in a coalition with Sinn Féin, let's just say that for example, and you had 3 seats and they needed your 3 seats, and then things go well, is it because Sinn Féin have a bigger media strategy than you, that they can actually shoehorn the media to thinking that this all you know what I mean? That they can control the narrative in terms of what went wrong. Do you think it actually is coming down to who has the most like PR and power rather than the actual explaining who did what and who didn't?
It's potentially that, and then I also think it's an element that people expect more maybe of the smaller party. You know, know, Tories are going to Tory, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are going to do their thing as well. I think there's a bit of, you know, this kind of people think higher of maybe Lib Dems at the time or the Greens in the South. But like I said, don't get me wrong, they've done really good stuff and I don't want to discredit their work at all. I just think you often get to blame for things that aren't necessarily, they're the smallest coalition partner. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are going to, you know, they're going to rule the roost in terms of that government. And I think that was kind of my fear going in, that, you know, you're not going to have a strong enough say. And, you know, are you going to be willing to pull out what's going to be your red line? And I think, unfortunately, history and Southern Greens did that. They didn't really know when to leave last time around, and I think that was our fear around this. But like I said, I don't think it has went as catastrophically wrong as maybe some of us had feared at the time. I think that they've actually made some really good achievements down there. But you know, I
did a gig in Dublin for the Irish Wind Farm Association, and there was a couple of people from the Greens in, and I got booked for it, and I died on my arse, right? Died on my arse. I made a great joke, right? I said they were trying to get money for wind farms and they were put them all in County Louth. And I said, I was driving down there recently, I saw the wind farms just off the coast of Dundalk. I said, tell you, it makes Dundalk look a lot better when you see a wind farm, right? Absolute silence, right? My mother's family's from Dundalk, so I'm in Dundalk a lot, right?
You'll be able to make
and
that.
Then I said they're trying to lobby the government, you know, to invest in green energy and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, you wouldn't believe it. Did you hear the news today that Bertie Ahern is back in Fianna Fáil? And they all kind of laughed about it and went, so if you guys want any wind farms, you know, now just get a couple of brown envelopes. And you know, I was doing all these what I thought were quite good gags.
I find they're quite funny.
Silence. So do you know what I did? Okay. At the end of the gig, there's all these stands, you know, green energy, you know, electric this and electric that and blah, blah, blah. And they all had pens and notepads, you know, because as people are going around the conference, you know, they're, you know, got your lanyard on, you're like, oh, what do you guys do? Oh, we do green bulbs and all this kind of stuff. Whatever it is they're trying to promote and sell. I went round every stall. I nicked stationery, I nicked pens, and I went, you can fuck off.
Just got paid in stationery, yeah.
I absolutely died on my arse. And you know what the feedback was? He was good, but not great.
That's a burn.
There you go. Hey, I've no embarrassment threshold. Like, I'll happily tell that story, no problem. So to the Irish Wind Energy Association, see you next year. I'll come back then. Do you like what you do?
Some days, like I said, I think my head's cut. It's not the easiest job in the world.
Why?
In politics. There's a lot of pressure, and yeah, you get a lot of stick. Like, people tend to come to you when you're doing something wrong or they disagree with you. They don't tend to come and tell you when you're doing a good job when you're in politics. So
it's like I always say about the police. If you're in the police, you're going to horrendous scenes and to people's worst day of their lives. You're never actually seeing the good in society. You're only going to the difficult situation. So you're only, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that particularly, I think of the last few years here, politics in Northern Ireland has gotten a little bit depressing, and you do feel you're just in a bit of a hamster wheel, and it's Groundhog Day. We're never really, like I said, I'm 32. I didn't think 25 years after the Good Friday Agreement I'd still be talking about the same old shit that we were talking about back then. Like, I feel we got that, and then we've just kind of petered along. We haven't actually done the actual hard work of bringing this place on. And I think that can be a bit depressing sometimes. You just realise, how are we still dealing with these issues? But we're a really traumatised society and we've a long way to go. So, like, that can get you down a bit. But then, like I said, I do have hope and I think I can still achieve something. But then this year I think is a nice refreshing change. Like I said, there isn't many nice jobs in politics, but I think being Deputy Lord Mayor is definitely one of them. I think being Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor is really, really nice things to do because you do see the best of it. That's the thing. You're out and about, you're seeing all the incredible events that are happening, you know, all the festivals that are happening in Belfast, all the really interesting meetings and projects that are going on, all that really good stuff that is happening, that you don't always get an opportunity to see and go out and support. So like I said, that's why I'm honestly loving and I'm thriving being Deputy Lord Mayor, because you get to see all that lovely stuff that's happening. I think it's really re-energize me and hopefully re-energize the Green Movement as well. Like I said, we are coming off the back of pretty brutal election 2022. 2023 was a bit better, but we still had a couple of bruising losses, and like, you take it personally. You have to, you know, these people are my friends and they work so hard, and just like, that's politics, that's life. You know, you don't always get the win on the day, but you have to kind of scramble and rebuild. So something like this is a really nice boost, because you know, you go, actually, you know, hold on, we can do things, and you know, you can get out there and you see all those lovely things that are happening and you get to support them. So
that's pretty cool. So you work full time as well in charity,
yeah,
is that right? And then you're a counsellor as well,
yeah,
and Deputy Lord Mayor,
yeah.
Right, so you're spinning a lot of plates at the moment.
Yeah.
When you became Deputy Lord Mayor, did you go in the lash? Did you go out after, like?
Yes,
Would
there was a few drinks had.
You know, you walk, kicking open doors of pubs, going, I'm the Deputy Lord Mayor. There's going to be a few changes around here. See that bin? That's going to be collected on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday. Get out of my face.
I know. What I mean? The one change I made to my office was to get a big, ugly set of bins put in, because I had the wee fancy bin in the corner, and I was like, oh no, I'm agreeing. Where's my recycling bins? Get them in.
So when you're doing the Deputy Lord Mayor, like, you can't, obviously, you know, when someone says like you're the deputy, that the following year, it's like being a vice captain in a golf club. You move up to captain the following year. That's not how Deputy Lord Mayor works.
And everybody thinks, actually, the amount of people that have said that to me, that's not how it works.
Next year's your year. You're like, no, I'm gone.
No, I'm gone. I'm back down to being a lowly councillor next year.
Yeah. Do you, when you got the role, when you took on the role and stuff like that, like, and you, whatever, you know, you drew a name out of a hat and you were like, oh my God, that's me. Were you a bit like, oh, bloody hell, I'm just going to go for it and see what the crack is? Or was there a little part of you like going, this could be a little bit too much for me? Because when I grew up, sorry, I'm kind of going off topic. When I grew up as a kid, whenever the Lord Mayor came to my school, we got the day off. So I've always liked Lord Mayors. Do you wear the chain?
Yeah.
Do you ever like bring the chain out to the public?
Not yet.
Do you ever, like,
I don't know how well that would go.
Do you ever see like a busy bar and people are trying to get served, you just whip the chain out and you go, look at that, Deputy Lord Mayor, mate.
I wish.
If you don't serve me now, your rates are going up. Did you ever do that?
I wish I had that power. I could serve you a bit quicker. Yeah, no, like, I was really excited by it. Like, I had heebie-jeebies a wee bit, because you're like, oh God, whew. And you're going to be a bit more media attention and eyes on you. But no, like, I was actually really excited about it. I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, it's
not very many people will have that on their CV.
Like, it's really quite random, and it fell in my lap a bit randomly as well. So just taking that opportunity and making the most of it.
Yeah. I'd love to be Deputy Lord Mayor, me. I tell you, man, I'd smash it. Like, I'd love it. Just walking in.
It's great fun, I'm telling you.
It's a good fun.
It is. Like, cause there's not many nice jobs in politics, but you get to put a chain on. You swat about. It's going to nice things, but
do you have a chauffeur?
Belfast. As I say, the chain has a driver. There's actually been occasions when the chain has been driven somewhere and I have walked there because I've been going from somewhere else. So the chain has protocol around it. But,
are you allowed to take the chain home?
No, it stays under lock and key. Those things are expensive.
So is it really heavy as well when you wear it?
The Deputy Lord Mayor one isn't too heavy. Now, it's weighty enough. It's sizable. It's a nice piece of jewellery. But the Lord Mayor one it weighs an entire stone. Like, it's weighty. I like Kate Nichols, MLA now. She was pregnant.
We're hoping to get her on here, by the way.
Yeah, she's fab. She was pregnant.
Zimbabwean, is it?
South Africa,
Zimbabwe, something like that.
One of them. But she was pregnant in her year of office, and I do not know how she was carrying that chain around with her.
And the Wayne as well.
Like, fair play to her. Like,
the child's come out Deputy Lord Mayor. Welcome to Cork and the North podcast. Keeping it real with the Deputy Lord Mayor, Áine Groogan. How do you deal with people who are completely politically aligned to you, opposite to you in politics? We spoke to Naomi Long about it, and you were like, you kind of hear people in the media and the way they push their rhetoric, because I know they're doing it because they have, an audience that they need to, how would you say, keep playing to.
Yeah.
But when you come up with somebody that's completely opposed to you, say somebody saying the DUP who isn't for same-sex marriage or women's right to choose and stuff like that, how do you kind of navigate that?
Like, I think on the day-to-day, it's quite easy. And, like, I have people in the DP I really, really respect and get on really well with. And I know, like, when I went through hard times last year in politics, they were the first ones coming up to me.
Really?
And,
even though they're complete opposite?
100%. Like, so there's really good people in every party. And I do firmly believe most people don't go into politics for bad reasons. People go in because they want to make a change in their community. And you can lose sight of that sometimes when you go into some of the rough debates. And like, don't get me wrong, when I'm in some of them debates, I am fit to be tied, and I am infamous for my eye rolls and facial expressions. I would have people from other parties messaging me going, "Oh my God, Áine, your face." As Brian Smith says, he thinks I'm taking a fit some days, so the eyes roll out of my head. I should never play poker, put it that way. So I think I tend to make my displeasure known in a debate, but it's politics, you know.
But when you finish,
it's a rough and tumble of it. You have that debate, you throw your jabs across the chamber, but mostly afterwards, everybody are like, you get on with it. Like most people get into politics know that's what you're going to do, and you have to thrash those debates out, and you're not going to agree with people, and you know it's infuriating. Like I said, my head be turned with it, but when that's finished and done with, generally just get on with it.
Yeah, but like when you're in a debating room now with somebody and you're like, no, I disagree, and you're this and you're that and blah blah blah, and you're a disgrace and blah blah blah, then you go to the canteen, you're like, well, John, how are you? Does that happen? Because I would find that very difficult, because there's people in comedy that I will not work with. So for example, if I was booked to do a show and so was on the bill, I'm like, I'm not going. Why? Because that guy's or that girl's a prick. I'm not going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, like I say, largely it's politics, it's not personal, and I think that's generally the case. That being said, I think we all have a few people, like in all industries, there's people that are not great, and you have your reasons not to be near them and not speaking to them, and you'll have that. But like, they're thankfully very small number, the people that you just will not break bread with.
These cameras go off, Andrew stops talking to me. What's like at all?
We don't talk. We've just had a court injunction. He's got to stay 12 yards away from me.
We buffer zone going on here.
Do you know what I mean? Because his wife's pregnant, and I mean, we're not sure if it's his baby, but like, no, it's fine. It's a comedy podcast with / politics in the middle of it. We're still trying to do some comedy. We're still trying to do some politics. Agree. What advice would you give to a Free State Cork guy living in the north who's thinking about dabbling his toe on the outskirts of the political world of Northern Ireland?
I would say give it a go.
Do you think someone like me, people would look at me and think I was taking the piss?
No.
Because you know what? I'll tell you something, Áine. And you listen to me now, right? My speeches as a councillor would be fucking hilarious. I would have the funniest speeches. I'd open up with speech one. I'd open up with speech, you know, Ich Áine Berliner. I'd nick them all from John F. JFK. I'd nick a load of... I'd be doing Will Ferrell lines and they won't even notice.
Yeah.
I'd even do some of Jeffrey Donaldson's lines back to him. He probably wouldn't even spot it. But like I've often thought about dipping my toe in, just not because of an arrogant thing or an ego thing, but it's like, since living up here, I'm actually like really disappointed that the actual people who are so progressive get treated like a piece of crap sometimes from certain people in politics. Not all.
Yeah. And
like, it really annoys me.
Like, I think everybody get into politics because they have something to say, and they have a voice that's maybe not being heard. So I'd always encourage anyone, if they're interested, go for it. Like, it's not the easiest gig, I'll tell you that. For nothing.
Listen,
but
if you can gig in Ballymena on a Saturday night.
Now there's stand-up comedy, so I'd take politics any day of the week over comedy.
You know what happened to the last comedian that became a politician? They got invaded by Russia. Can you imagine what's Ireland going to be invaded by? Finland? Something like that. Anyway, before we finish up, thanks for coming on. I have to get some gags in, like. Do you know what I mean? This has been the straightest pod I've done.
Yeah,
and like, even the listeners of Cork and the North are going, when's he going to start slagging her off? Like,
I'm a very serious person.
I would never do that. No, it's good. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoy talking to people from the political world because I have an interest in it. Is there a lot of narcissists in politics?
Did you say narcissism?
Like, people go in there, they want power and control because they're missing something in their own life. Is there people that go in there and you think there's a few of you here for the wrong reasons?
I don't think so. Like, there's an element of ego. Like, nobody's in politics without an ego. Like,
really? I suppose comedy's the same as well.
You have to have, like...
You have to believe in yourself to be able to do something, I suppose.
You have to be a bit mad to put yourself out there. Like, you know, you're...
But there is a fine line between confidence and the arrogance, though, isn't there?
Yeah. I think most people find the right balance. I think most people are in politics for the right reasons, whether I agree with them or not. Like, there's outliers to that, and Tories, I'm looking at you. But I think here, generally, most people I've encountered are there for the right reason. Yeah. Like I said, there's some people, their views are absolutely abhorrent. But I also
should hear some of Sean's views.
There's people in every
Producer Sean, some
in
of the
every
stuff.
party that you can find common ground with, and I think that's as much as our system gets bogged down in division and all of that. It also means people have to work together, so you have to find common ground. Like in City Hall, we're 3 councillors out of 60. If we can't do anything on our own, if we want to do something, we have to get the DEP on board. We have to get Sinn Féin on board. You know, we have to kind of work across different parties.
Yeah.
Like that's just the nature of it, and you will always find agreement. Like there's things we've brought through that council, and I've been shocked that we've got support for. Like absolutely shocked. And to be fair, it's went to other councils, and the same parties that supported in our council didn't support it then. So I think Belfast in particular, we're maybe a wee bit lucky. Even what you'd term non-progressive parties are maybe a wee bit more progressive in there than they would be in other areas as well.
Yeah, that's mad. Well, you know what? Really enjoyed talking to you, because it's nice to thank you to come on and introduce. So you know, a lot of our viewers and listeners, you know, who may not, who just may not be into politics and stuff like that. And these are things that we wanted to kind of do, is to show people that like there are people like yourselves out there doing really good work for the community, and all the stuff that you've done with the Greens and stuff, and Deputy Lord Mayor, and you're a councillor and stuff. And you know, I think a lot of people like yourselves who are doing a lot of work behind the scenes probably don't get recognised a bit, you know, with some of the, you know, and it's kind of like wanted to get people on here to say like there is people out there, you know, who are doing stuff that are not on the front page of the Telegraph, that are not on the front page of, you know, BBC and I or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So I really do appreciate you coming in. I've really enjoyed having you on, and I really wish you the best of luck, the Deputy Lord Mayor.
If you ever, you know, want to get involved in politics, do you have another chat? You know,
I don't know, you know, like, I don't know,
Producer
Producer Sean, thoughts, feelings about me doing politics? Because some people said to me I should do it for the crack. Now, I think I wouldn't get elected, but I think I'd love to have a crack off it, but I think it would, I don't know if I would be up for the abuse, like. I mean, I get abuse anyway, but I don't know if I'd be up for that.
Just stay on Twitter. Like, honest to God, most people are sound, just not on Twitter.
Yeah. The problem with Andrew is just he's so sectarian.
And if there's anything we need more of in this place.
Yeah. Hey, my girlfriend's from the unionist background, right? And I got her the Irish passport application for her birthday.
Cross community.
He told me that he only votes for the Greens because they're not called the Oranges.
Oh, very good. That's why we have the green sofas. That's why Áine wore green today. I did text her before.
Floating head over here.
Áine Groogan, Deputy Lord Mayor, thanks very much. And people can find you online and stuff on Instagram. What's your Instagram?
Yep, Instagram, I think it's just Áine Groogan or Groogana.
Yeah.
Not sure which. One of the two.
Well, listen, thanks for coming on and kind of like letting us know what you do and the kind of work you're doing in the community. We really do appreciate it. And fingers crossed you have a good rest of your year as Deputy Lord Mayor, and we might see you about sometime. And if you're going to go for another election, because you never know, it could be running against you. The Cork Freedom Party.
Here.
Do you know what I mean? Be good. Áine Groogan, thanks so much for coming on Cork in the North. Appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks to everyone for liking, sharing and subscribing to this podcast with Áine Groogan, the Deputy Lord Mayor and Councillor for the Green Party here in the North. Really enjoyed that one. Stay tuned. More episodes coming up. You know what to do. Buy tickets to the live show Sunday 10th of December at the Duncairn Theatre. The show is 60% full already. We do need to push those last 40% because we're going to have a great day. We've got great music lined up. People from comedy, the sports world as well, join us for the Cork in the North live chat show. So thanks to everyone for keep supporting us here and sign up to the Patreon. Thank you all. Go to me, Margaret.